somewhere there is a Bed Bath & Beyond with all of its wash rags missing because this guy used them for all of his Molotovs.
Hi, you silly goose. I'm Rev, and today we're taking a look at the post-apocalyptic boomer shooter, Dead Trash. Developed by Crowhill Studios and published by DOSman Games, Dead Trash sports a gritty, urban landscape and a plentiful amount of trash bags. As far as the story goes, I quite enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it so much that I'm going to talk about it. Before that happens, would you consider subscribing to the channel? I'm really working towards my goal of getting 100 subscribers on the channel. Anyway, set in a city that is wasting away, cut off from the outside world by quarantine zone, Dead Trash follows the journey of our enigmatic hard hat wearing hero, Sam, as he makes his way through the grimy streets to uncover the mysteries locked deep within the winding streets and alleyways. Sam is a longtime citizen of this forsaken city and is no stranger to the dangers that it holds. As the infection has created some unsightly enemies, the desolation has given rise to ruthless gangs of scavengers, and the secret government operations within the city have left soldiers clad in hazmat suits to gun down infected and survivors on sight. You, the player, join in on Sam's journey right about the time that a couple of unfortunate fellas in hazmat suits happen upon the door that is honestly their best friend in this moment. Crowhill's writing for Sam really gives the impression that this isn't Sam's first rodeo, and the brutal scene that follows leaves no doubt that he had used that hammer many times before to dispatch those who stand in his way. Speaking of, I really enjoyed the way that Crowhill chose to bring us the story, utilizing a comic book style of storytelling. The story itself only gets darker and grittier as it progresses, literally, as you go from the destroyed city streets to the dank sewers, filled with all sorts of horrid creatures, like this mutant zombie that turns into a cursed sprinkler after being brought down, or these big fellas that I referred to as Kenneths because their terrifying appearance and aggressive, rampaging charge reminded me a lot of what Kenneth Copeland does when you don't put enough money in the offering plate. As with many boomer shooters, certain points in the story lead to big boss fights, which is something that I want to talk about. As a whole, I enjoyed the bosses in Dead Trash. It is easy to see that Crowhill Studio put in a lot of work to make sure each boss had their unique presence and mechanic. One boss in particular was far too present in my playthrough, and by that I mean the fight against this boss alone took me almost 2.5 hours to beat. And while the mechanics of this boss were very interesting, and the boss himself made me giggle speeding around in that shopping cart, my first encounter with the shopping cart maniac, that's my nickname for him, was a rage-inducing experience. The Molotovs were the bane of my existence. If I lost sight of him, which was likely because he was surprisingly agile for being in a shopping cart, then by the time I found him, the Molotovs in the sky looked like the scene out of 300, where Leonidas is impaled by a swarm of arrows that blotted out the sun. Yeah, I experienced that so many times I lost count. After damaging him enough, he would then begin shooting you with an AK alongside tossing those Molotovs. And the added danger of the gunfire wouldn't have been bad, except the shopping cart maniac was able to gun me down from across the arena. I want to take a moment and shout out Crowhill Studios and DOSman Games. Soon after receiving feedback concerning this particular boss, the game was patched, and my second time fighting against the shopping cart maniac was much more enjoyable. Now, someone in the comments could say, Rev, it took you so long because you're trash. So, to preempt that, I'll go ahead and turn myself in the trash. Thinking back on it, my extensive amount of time spent with the shopping cart maniac really let me get to know him. As he rained fire on top of my head, he confessed to me that he always wanted to be a dancer, but he couldn't because he's stuck in a shopping cart, buried underneath an entire department store's stock of washcloths. Even better, it gave me a chance to familiarize myself with a few of the weapons that Dead Trash has to offer. And spoiler alert, the weapons in this game are phenomenal. To be honest, I don't think that there was a weapon in the game that I didn't like. The melee weapons, which were the hammer and the axe, felt plenty powerful all the way through the game. There was something oddly satisfying about running through the streets and fending off foes with the hammer, but it was really the firearms that took the game to another level. The gunfire sound effects for each weapon were by far my favorite part. The pistol in particular had this deep, guttural thud that made me feel like I was wielding a beast of a gun. In fact, I liked the weapons so much that I gave them each a name.
Clarence and Clifford, Clover, Clarissa, Carmichael, Killian, Carmela. It's Kalashnikov with a C. Oh, Cletus. I'm not necessarily sure if Crowhill or DOSman knew I was gonna name all the weapons in this game, but DOSman ought to know I'm gonna name something.
Crowhill certainly wanted us to experience all that we could of the various firearms available, as ammo isn't too hard to come by and can be found quite often by breaking open the trash bags lying around the levels. Speaking of the levels, Crowhill Studio did a fine job of creating unique atmospheres for each respective level. The city was foggy, paper and trash were scattered all over the roads, the alleyways easily turned into mazes if you weren't paying attention, and enemies were lurking in all sorts of unexpected places. Giant skyscrapers loomed overhead, still and imposing, and the ambient sounds only served to add to the atmosphere.
Bro.
The sewers were grimy, nasty, and left me thankful that we haven't invented a way to smell the levels in video games yet. And the hidden facility was mysterious, full of test tubes and machinery that left me wondering what horrible experiments were being done within these hallways. The final thing that I would like to speak about was the enemy character design. As I have begun to learn more and more about the world of indie FPS games, I am always amazed to hear about the amazing amount of effort that developers put into their character models. The same can be said of Crowhill's work in Dead Trash. Many of the character models were created using photographs and countless amounts of props. And watching through the end credits, I noticed that Crowhill had quite a few people involved in helping him create different character models. To be honest, I'm really interested to know the story and the work that went into creating the enemy I used in my thumbnail, which I referred to in the playthrough as the Glad Sandwich Bagman. Fighting through the streets of the city and bringing down Skull Mask Avengers and bringing down Skull Mask Scavengers and other dangerous foes made me feel like I was playing Hobo with a Shotgun, the video game. Whether Crowhill took inspiration from that cult classic movie, I don't know, but it sure felt like Dead Trash would have fit right in with the movie's aesthetic. Overall, I really enjoyed my time playing Dead Trash, and I would definitely recommend that you give it a try once it releases on March 11th on Steam. You will be able to purchase Dead Trash for a 10% launch discount price of $2.99. I want to say a big thank you to DOSman Games and Crowhill Studios for giving me the opportunity to do an early review of the game, and a big thanks to you, the viewer, for watching through and hanging out with old Rev. If you like what you saw, consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. If you didn't like it, go ahead and dislike it. Then go straight to the Steam store, wishlist Dead Trash, play through it once it releases, and leave a good review saying, "Great game, first boss is easy, Rev is trash." Anyway, remember that you are loved, and until next time, see ya, silly gooses.
Oh, Cletus.